Now, I've been a trophy hunter for the better part on and off of about 10 years, with Symmetry being around for about 3 to 4 of those years. And in that time, I have definitely experienced some truly awful trophies. Whether they just didn't pop for whatever reason, they felt like they didn't feel like it, to actually being legit bullshit to try and achieve. I've definitely experienced my fair share. So I figured today I'd put a little video together of 8 bullshit trophies, truly awful ones that I've experienced over my time. So without further ado, let's jump right in. City Skylines, what the? Man, I love City Skylines. For me, this SimCity-inspired city builder is nearly perfect. The detail in City Skylines is truly crazy. From building up your small town into a sprawling megacity, to constructing complex transportation systems, to creating small uneducated communities designed to fuel the economy and allow you to focus on the actual city across the map. Yes, I actually worked out a ridiculous moneymaker in this practice. This game really does have it all. For the most part, City Skylines and its raging mass of DLCs has fairly reasonable trophies. You have trophies revolving around unlocking population-based milestones, creating transportation services such as taxi systems and airports, and trophies tasking the player with beating map-specific scenarios. There are even some really neat trophies based on designing theme parks, zoos, and agricultural districts. This game really does have a fantastic amount of depth, and I have spent a ridiculous amount of hours enjoying designing a city that has ultimately amassed me most of the game's trophies, 82% to be exact. One trophy has eluded me in the 400 hours of my game time. What the is a trophy from the game's second DLC pack, Natural Disasters. This truly hideous trophy requires the player to experience a chirpnado. Think a tornado, but made up of thousands of tiny little blue birds. Sounds simple enough. Create a city and play around until the game feels like spawning one of these disasters. Did I mention I have over 400 hours in City Skylines? The chirpnado is one of several disasters that may potentially spawn. These including tsunamis, meteor showers, lightning storms, and bushfires. Now, most of these you will see hundreds of times. The chirpnado, however, has a staggering 0.4% spawn rate. You cannot increase this using monuments, and using a specific map does little to help. The trophy and achievement communities have many theories over how to assist in spawning these little blue bastards. However, none of these tactics are set in stone and rely heavily on luck. With 400 hours under my belt, hopefully this hell of a trophy pops soon, so I can go back to designing my ultimate city. Dying Light 2 Don Quixote? Oh, Dying Light 2. I really want to say I love you, but I'm so on the fence that it isn't funny. Like a McDonald's Big Mac, I enjoyed you during the initial moments of our relationship. However, your lack of depth and substance has left me confused and shitty. Whilst the story and map was a significant improvement over Dying Light 1, a game I enjoyed and have found memories of. Bozak Horde with the boys, anyone? Dying Light 2 has a problem, a massive problem. The game has more bugs than I do hair on my shoulders. Want to complete all the notes? Better pray they spawn correctly. Want to complete all the side quests? I hope you have backed up your save at least 48 times and done a rain dance for good measure. No joke, I haven't experienced a launch this bad since Fallout 76, and yet I truly do enjoy this game. There is something so satisfying about caving a zombie head in with a shoe on a stick and then flying through the air between several overgrown skyscrapers. Despite all these potential bugs, my collectible trophies popped without any issues, and I worked towards opening the map up to work on some of the longer trophies, such as maximizing my skill trees and traveling a staggering 960 kilometers. This trophy is an ultra rare for a reason. Hot damn, that is way too much cardio. Now, to achieve this, I would need to unlock all the fast travel points. These points being crappy rundown windmills, each with a climbing puzzle to boot. Think Far Cry towers, but worse and with significantly more jumping. Upon completing the final one of these windmills, the player is supposed to be greeted with a trophy pop. Don Quixote, the pronunciation is harder than the trophy itself, is unlocked with beating all 17 windmills. Apparently, my trophy never popped. and has left me with an awkward scenario where I will have to return one day to the game, boot up a save from many hours prior, and pray that I hadn't already finished the windmill that has glitched on me at that point in the game. A heartbreaking way to end my experience with Zombie Parkour Simulator 2. GREEDFALL, A Better World. When GREEDFALL blessed the PlayStation Plus lineup back in January of 2021, I was actually very excited. As a lover of RPGs, a mystical Dragon Age inspired tale set in the honestly underrated 17th century was right up my alley. Filled with mythical beasts, a semi-open world, character relationships, and a really unique language developed specifically for the Donigada, I hope I've got that right, had me ready for a platinum run. Little did I know, GREEDFALL's polish would quickly rub off, leaving behind an RPG that, while Dragon Age inspired, is more Inquisitions than Origins. If you know, you know. Combat is largely clunky with certain abilities heavily spammable, the gun class is flat out broken and will slaughter your foes even on the hardest of difficulties, and the map, oh boy, the map of GREEDFALL either falls into being completely unmemorable or memorable for the wrong reason. Copy and pasted buildings, especially interiors, hit Dragon Age level 2's absurd. Bitching aside, the main plot and side characters are largely interesting, and I find myself, even well after a year of playing, remembering Kurt and the gang fondly. Maybe because I had to shag them all for specific relationship trophies. Now, the trophies of GREEDFALL are very RPG. Is that a term? You have your difficulty trophies, relationship trophies, faction reputation trophies, and story trophies. If you have played Fallout, Skyrim, The Witcher, or Dragon Age, you know this trophy list off by heart, and that I largely decimated the trophy list, leaving only 4 trophies between myself and the sweet platinum trophy. So why did I stop so close to the finish line? The trophy, A Better World, is one of several ending trophies, and a fussy one at that. A Better World essentially requires the player to make very specific choices throughout the duration of GREEDFALL. Maybe you have to save one character here, maybe slaughter some younglings there, or maybe you have to be friends with the leader of a faction before 11 AM on a Tuesday while it is cloudy outside. Seriously, some of the requirements were bollocks, and I attempted this game prior to any guides existing on PSMP. For note, there are several now on PSMP as of the making of this video. When the trophy initially didn't pop, I was puzzled. I had max affiliations with every faction, all companions worshipped my very existence, and I had chosen story options that benefited the greater majority. Still, no trophy. So I sat down and re-ran through the game, making similar choices but with slightly different variations, from taking less time delivering diplomatic papers to choosing different characters to perform different choices. No trophy. Defeated, I shelved the game and moved on, trophyless and torn. Maybe one day I'll return to GREEDFALL, especially with the since released Vesper Conspiracy DLC. Kena Bridge of Spirits, Hat Collector. Pixar Souls. Kena is a visually stunning game. I loved my initial playthrough. From roaming the highest snowy peaks to delving deep into the ancient forests, Kena had me strapped down and begging for more. Seriously, the game is bloody great. Now, the trophy that will stop most players from obtaining this platinum trophy is a rough one in itself. The creatively named Master Spirit Guide tasks the player with beating this game on the hardest difficulty, and it is legit hard. There is a reason this game is called Pixar Souls. Those bosses took their Red Bull and are insanely aggressive. I actually have this trophy, so I guess I'd better explain why I don't have the platinum trophy. Well, you see, Kena has several collectible trophies that task the player to roam Kena's world, opening chests for hat cosmetics. For real, these hats make the rot absolutely adorable. Beating enemies and finding the rot themselves scattered around the environment. Easy, right? Well, it would be. But this specific chest right here is 110% glitched on me. Several updates have flown by and this damn box will not open, thus sealing the hat within its oaky depths and denying me of the trophy. I honestly believe that this incredibly rare occurrence, hell, a deep dive into Google on several occasions hasn't found me a single player with this situation, and it seemingly has me alone. Hatless and sad. I do recommend Kena Bridge of Spirits, but maybe keep a few emergency backup saves so you don't end up like old Symmetry over here. Little Nightmares, hard to the core. Little Nightmares was a series largely unknown to me until during my streaming late last year. A good friend of mine recommended the games to me. Thanks, Bruce, man. Little Nightmares is a side-scrolling horror game, and let's be honest, it's amazing. Little Nightmares 2 might even be better. You essentially play as a little lost character, exploring the depths of a very strange ship, all the whilst eating gnomes and avoiding all manner of horrific passengers aboard the vessel. Seriously, this game creeped me out more than once. Little Nightmares is the kind of game you don't rush. Taking in each and every inch of this gem reveals all sorts of lore and horrors. Have I mentioned I love this game? Now, the trophies in Little Nightmares are honestly pretty basic. There is no platinum trophy, and whilst this may turn some players off, the rest of the trophies, for the most part, are cruisy. Nearly every single trophy is associated with a random occurrence during the levels of the game. Six's Song, for example, tasks the player with running over all the keys of a piano, whilst Kitchen Hand has the player throwing various ingredients into a pot during the kitchen level, all whilst avoiding the scariest chef in gaming. And then there is Hard to the Core. Remember when I suggested taking your time and enjoying Little Nightmares? Yeah, nah, Hard to the Core says no. This awful trophy tasks the player with speedrunning the game in an hour. Oh, and you can't die. Now, this isn't too awful a base level. You can upload your saves to the cloud and really refine each section of the game, making sure to avoid death, of course. However, a near-perfect speedrun will land you at 55 minutes, meaning that you only have 5 minutes to spare. With several attempts and many uploaded saves, I'm sure this trophy would ultimately be significantly easier than many others I have previously completed. However, the fact that it goes against what in my opinion makes Little Nightmares special ultimately lands its place on this list. Outer Wilds HOTSHOT. I love the Outer Wilds. It might be one of the best games I've played this year. While yes, I do actually need to finish the game, the way Outer Wilds sets its progression out is it's outstanding. You awaken as a young and eager adventurer before quickly taking to the stars, and the rest is for you to discover yourself. Outer Wilds is home to several very unique planets, from water giants to planets that gradually increase or decrease in size and shape. You also only have about 20 minutes to explore before the sun casually explodes and you awaken at the start of your journey again. Now, as much as I really recommend this game, seriously, it is part of the PS Plus Deluxe package, get onto it. Nearly every trophy in this game is kind of terrible. It is worth a shot, task the player with escaping the solar system, also known as rubber banding your controller and leaving it for the full 22 minutes as it flies backwards. Very easy, but man is it boring, especially if you're like me and it doesn't pop the first time. I left my controller for over 40 minutes before it counted my successful run. Then there are the model rocket trophies. From the Half to the Moon and Micah's Wrath both require the player to remotely control a model of your ship, launching it from a distance either into the sun or landing it on a moon orbiting your planet. Whilst the sun trophy isn't too awful, that moon, however, is fast and requires precision and planning to land on. It doesn't help that from about halfway onwards, you can't actually see the model rocket and are traveling blind. Then there is HOTSHOT. I hate HOTSHOT. This devil of a trophy tasks the player with manually flying their rocket to a station orbiting the sun. Easy, right? Wrong. Very, very wrong. Not only do you have to grapple with the rocket's controls, seriously, the rocket's controls suck, momentum and the sun's gravitational pull, but you have to align your rocket with the station as it orbits the sun, match the speed, and tease your way in. This in itself is not easy, as leaving your ship too fast will hurl you to a fiery death, whilst leaving too slowly typically forces your ship to lose its alignment with the station and send you to a fiery death. Seriously, stuff this trophy. For all of my gripes with the Outer Wilds trophy list, I still must heavily recommend this game. It is a true hidden gem and tasks the player with becoming well versed in its mechanics for success. Mafia 2 Explorer. As someone who grew up during the early to mid 2000s, Grand Theft Auto was a staple of my gaming library. From the bustling streets and bright lights of Vice City to getting on that damn train in San Andreas. I truly adore this series and many of the clones that popped up around the time. Hell, Saints Row 2 might be my favorite of the crime genre, but there was another series that I thoroughly enjoyed as well, a more grounded and darker tone series in Mafia. So you better believe I was bouncing off the walls with excitement when the Mafia trilogy was announced to be getting a PS4 remaster and or porting. Well, except Mafia 3, but we're not going to talk about Mafia 3. That excitement quickly then dissipated when I realized Jimmy's Vendetta would also be remastered. This is quite frankly a shallow DLC for Mafia 2. It follows, Jimmy? Some Mafia dude who got out of jail and, needs to do Mafia Man stuff? I think in writing this, I may have put more effort into this DLC than the dev team. Whilst most of the DLC is shallow, it can be forgiven 7 for being harmless, with nearly all the trophies being knocked out in about 4 hours or so, and simply requiring the player to get kills and blow up cars. Then there is Explorer, a trophy that requires you to drive over 1,000 miles. No biggie, until you discover that after 100%ing the rest of the DLC, you'll be around 40 miles at best. So that means grind time. Now you could spend hours upon hours doing laps of the city abiding the speed limit, or you could use a certain glitch. This glitch is simple in theory. Perfectly crash through a very specific window and let your car fall for about 12 to 20 hours whilst AFK. Fun, right? Now after doing this for a couple of hours, the game does run the risk of crashing, making you lose your progress, and if you accidentally go over the 1,000 miles, but doing this method, you can potentially have the trophy decide not to pop. It truly is an awful trophy. Last time I checked, I have about 300 miles left to go, and I simply don't have the drive. Get it? To finish this one for now. Return of the Obra Dinn, the captain did it. Our last game on this list might also be my favourite game I've played this year. Return of the Obra Dinn has an incredibly simple premise. A ghost ship, the Obra Dinn, has sailed into harbour, minus its crew, and you, an insurance agent, must uncover what happened during the voyage of the Obra Dinn. What starts off slow very quickly evolves into a ridiculously complex series of fragmented events, each leading to character downfalls and opening up other stories. It seriously is incredible how many ways you can identify members of the crew and their demise. Play this one without a guide, you will not regret it. Now while I adore Return, the game does have one toxic trophy. Captain Did It is simple in nature. You have to blame all 60 odd fates on the captain. Now in theory, you could simply open up your logbook and input the captain and his involvement for each crew member. Unfortunately, in reality, this is not the case. You must first watch each memory associated to a crew member before you can lock them in, resulting in a second playthrough of the game needed entirely just to blame one guy over 60 times. It may only take 3 hours, but boy is it a slog. Play this game though, it is fantastic. And there we have it, 8 absolutely awful trophies in gaming, some of which just based on the nature in which they pop, others based on their glitchiness. Now, be sure to tell me what are some trophies that you might have experienced that you would consider awful yourself. I have heard some in games such as Mortal Kombat 9 are pretty brutal, for example, and if you've made it this far, do leave a cheeky like, a cheeky subscribe, maybe watch the previous Platinum Standard video where I took on the challenge of getting the Platinum in Resident Evil 7. It's a banger and should be somewhere probably here, I imagine. Anyway, this has been Symmetry and a fantastic video. I will catch you in the next video, and remember, pop those Platinums.